200 camels, 50 merchants, and a fortune in silk and spices, all depending on you to guide them safely across 4,000 miles of the world's most challenging trade route. You blink awake not in your familiar bed, but on a rough carpet. Under a canvas awning, the sound of bells and bleating camels filling the pre-dawn air. The year is 1340. The place is Samarkand, and in this historical scenario, you've just become responsible for one of history's most remarkable journeys. Welcome to the Silk Road, where fortunes are made, dreams are pursued, and every decision you make could mean the difference between prosperity and hardship for everyone who's trusted you with their future. The first thing you notice isn't the unfamiliar sounds or the strange smells wafting through the air. It's the weight. A heavy leather pouch filled with silver coins hangs from your belt. And your hands, when you look at them in the dim morning light, are calloused and weathered in ways they've never been before. These are the hands of someone who's spent years gripping camel reins, checking saddle straps, and counting precious cargo. You sit up slowly, your body aching in ways that suggest you've been sleeping on hard ground for weeks. Around you, a vast encampment is stirring to life. Hundreds of camels are tethered in long lines, their bells creating a constant melodic chiming as they shift and stretch. Men in turbans and long robes move between the animals, checking loads and adjusting ropes with the practiced efficiency of people who've done this countless times before. The air is filled with a mixture of scents that seem exotic and familiar all at once. Cinnamon, cardamom, and other spices you can't identify, mixed with the earthy smell of camels, horses, and wood smoke from cooking fires in the distance. The soaring minarets and blue-tiled domes of Samarkand rise against the morning sky. One of the great trading cities of the medieval world, Karvanbashi, calls a voice, and somehow you know they're addressing you. A middle-aged man in rich silk robes approaches, his face creased with worry lines that suggest he hasn't been sleeping well. The merchants are growing restless. When do we depart? Karvanbashi, caravan leader. The title settles into your consciousness with a weight that makes your stomach clench. These people aren't just traveling companions. They're your responsibility. Their lives, their fortunes, their families' futures, all depend on the decisions you make over the next months of grueling travel. Soon, you hear yourself saying, though you're not sure where the confidence in your voice comes from, "We wait for the morning prayers to finish. Then we begin." The man nods and hurries away, but not before you catch the mixture of trust and anxiety in his eyes as he disappears between the rows of camels. The full scope of your situation begins to sink in. You're not just responsible for getting this caravan from Samarkand to Constantinople. You're responsible for navigating political tensions between kingdoms, avoiding bandits who would kill everyone for the cargo, managing water supplies across vast deserts, and making 1,000 daily decisions that could save or doom the entire expedition. A young man approaches carrying a steaming bowl of what smells like spiced tea and flatbread. "Usted," he says respectfully, using the Persian word for master. "Your morning meal. The animals are loaded and ready. 57 merchants, 12 guards, 8 servants, and myself as your assistant. 230 camels carrying silk, porcelain, spices, and precious stones worth." He pauses, calculating. Enough to buy a city. As you take the bowl, you notice your hands don't shake despite the enormity of what you've just learned. This suggests that somewhere in your transformed consciousness, you actually do know how to do this job. The knowledge is there, waiting to be accessed when you need it. Routes memorized through years of travel, understanding of weather patterns, knowledge of languages and customs, experience with the 1,000 daily challenges of keeping a caravan moving safely across the known world. But knowing how to do something and actually doing it under pressure are very different things. And as the sun rises over Samarkand and the morning call to prayer echoes across the city, you realize you're about to find out whether you have what It takes the guide 200 souls across one of history's most dangerous journeys. The organization required to get a caravan of this size moving is staggering. Each camel can carry approximately 400 pounds of cargo, which means your caravan's transporting roughly 90,000 pounds of trade goods. The logistics of distributing this weight properly, ensuring each animal is healthy enough for the journey, and organizing the cargo so that essential supplies are accessible when needed requires knowledge that goes far beyond simple navigation. Your assistant, whose name you learn is Hassan, has been working with caravans for 8 years and knows the routine by heart. He guides you through the morning inspection process, checking each animal for signs of injury or illness that could slow the caravan or require medical attention on the road. This one favors her left rear leg, he points out, indicating a heavily loaded camel near the front of the train. We should redistribute her load and keep her toward the back where she can set her own pace. The merchants are equally complex to manage. They range from wealthy silk dealers from Damascus to small traders carrying precious stones and exotic spices. They hope to sell at enormous profits in European markets. Each has paid substantial fees for the privilege of traveling under your protection, and each has specific concerns about their particular cargo. Ibn Battuta, a spice merchant from Baghdad, approaches you with worried eyes. My cardamom pods must be kept dry at all costs, he explains. If they absorb moisture during river crossings or in the mountain passes, they'll rot, and my entire investment will be lost. Mahmoud, the silk dealer from Damascus, has different concerns. My cargo is delicate but not fragile, he tells you. However, it's extremely valuable, and I'm concerned about security arrangements. What guarantees can you provide against bandits or corrupt officials? Li Wei, one of 3 Chinese merchants in the caravan, speaks through an interpreter to express his own worries. He says the porcelain is packed carefully, but rough handling during loading and unloading could cause breakage. He wants to know about the competence of your loading crews. Each concern is legitimate, and each requires specific solutions that could conflict with the needs of other merchants. The spice dealer needs his goods kept dry, but the silk dealer needs good ventilation to prevent moisture buildup. The porcelain requires gentle handling, but the valuable goods need to be loaded quickly to minimize exposure to theft. As the morning progresses, you find yourself making dozens of decisions that balance competing priorities while keeping the broader goals of the expedition in mind. The knowledge needed to do this effectively seems to flow from some deep place in your transformed consciousness, understanding, gained through years of experience that you somehow now possess. The departure itself is a spectacle that draws crowds from the city. 230 camels, organized into groups of 10 for easier management, begin the slow process of standing and arranging themselves into travel formation. The sound is incredible. A symphony of bells, groaning leather, snorting animals, and shouted commands in half a dozen languages. You ride at the front of the caravan on a sturdy horse, with Hassan beside you on another mount. The first merchant group follows immediately behind, their most valuable goods kept close to the guards for maximum protection. The rest of the caravan stretches out behind you in a line that extends nearly half a mile, a moving city that will be your world for the next 6 months. As Samarkand's walls disappear behind you and the first day's journey begins, you feel a mixture of excitement and terror that seems entirely appropriate to the circumstances. You're embarking on one of history's great adventures, but you're also responsible for more lives and wealth than most people will ever see in their entire lifetimes. 3 days out from Samarkand, you encounter your first serious challenge when the caravan reaches the Amu Darya River. The crossing point you plan to use is flooded due to earlier rains in the mountains, forcing you to choose between a dangerous ford 20 miles upstream or a delay of several days waiting for the water level to drop. The decision seems simple until you consider all the implications. The upstream crossing is risky. You could lose camels, cargo, or even people if the current proves stronger than expected. The waiting means consuming precious supplies, paying additional fees to local authorities, and increasing the risk that competing caravans will reach your destination. Markets first. Hassan presents you with the information you need to make the decision. The local ferryman says the crossing upstream is possible but dangerous. He's lost 2 camels and 1 man in the past month attempting it. But if we wait here, we're burning through our food supplies, and the merchants are already complaining. About delays. You ride to the swollen river to assess the situation personally. The water is moving fast, carrying debris from the mountains, and the crossing point looks treacherous even for experienced swimmers, but the alternative means falling behind schedule on a journey where timing can be crucial for survival. Your decision to attempt the upstream crossing tests your leadership for the first time. Several merchants argue strenuously against the risk, while others demand that you maintain the original schedule regardless of danger. The guards express concerns about their ability to protect the caravan if animals and cargo are scattered by the crossing attempt. The crossing takes an entire day and costs you 3 camels and approximately 1,200 pounds of mixed cargo. No lives are lost, but the experience provides sobering evidence of how quickly circumstances can change on the Silk Road. One wrong decision, one moment of bad luck, and months of planning can be undone. But the crossing also demonstrates something important about caravan leadership: your willingness to make difficult decisions under pressure, even when they result in losses, builds confidence among the merchants and guards. They see that you're prepared to take calculated risks to maintain the expedition's progress, and that you don't panic when things go wrong. That evening, as the caravan makes camp on the western side of the river, Ibn Battuta approaches you with a different attitude than he'd shown during the morning complaints. "I lost half a camel load of cardamom in the crossing," he tells you, "but I would have lost everything if we'd waited for the floods to subside and missed the seasonal markets in Constantinople. You made the right choice, even though it cost us." The validation feels good, but you're learning that caravan leadership involves a constant series of such decisions, each carrying the potential for disaster. The river crossing was just the first test. Hundreds more await you over the next several months. 2 weeks into the journey, you encounter your first major political challenge when the caravan reaches the border between the Chagatai Khanate and the lands controlled by the Golden Horde. The political situation here is fluid and dangerous, with territorial disputes creating confusion about which authorities have legitimate power and what taxes or tribute they can demand. The border post consists of a fortified building surrounded by armed guards wearing the colors of both competing authorities. This immediately signals trouble. Either the 2 groups are cooperating, which suggests they've agreed to jointly exploit passing caravans, or they're in conflict, which means you could be caught in the middle of a violent dispute. Hassan briefs you on the situation as you approach. The Golden Horde claims authority here based on conquest 3 years ago, but the Chagatai Khan never formally ceded the territory. Both groups are collecting taxes from passing caravans, and several recent expeditions have been detained for weeks while the authorities sorted out their conflicting claims. The stakes are significant. If you pay taxes to the wrong authority, the other group might confiscate your cargo as punishment. If you refuse to pay either group, both might unite against you. If you try to negotiate reduced payments, you risk appearing weak and inviting additional demands. Your approach combines diplomacy, strategic ambiguity, and calculated risk-taking. You present gifts to both sets of authorities, valuable but not irreplaceable items that demonstrate respect without appearing to acknowledge their legitimacy. You emphasize the caravan's religious diversity, noting that you're carrying Muslim, Christian, and Buddhist merchants whose various rulers would be displeased if their subjects were mistreated. We seek only peaceful passage. You explain through Hassan's translation, and we're prepared to pay reasonable fees for protection and safe conduct. However, we carry goods belonging to merchants from many kingdoms, and our treatment here will be reported to rulers throughout the region. The negotiation takes 3 days, during which the caravan camps outside the border post while you navigate the complex political dynamics. The delay costs money and consumes supplies, but it's preferable to the alternatives: confiscation of cargo, indefinite detention, or violence that could destroy the entire expedition. The final agreement requires payment of 200 silver pieces to the Golden Horde representatives and 150 pieces, plus a bolt of silk to the Chagatai officials. It's expensive but not ruinous, and it comes with written safe conduct passes that should protect you from additional demands by subordinate officials. But the experience provides crucial education about Silk Road realities. Political authority along the trade routes is often contested. Corrupt officials regularly exceed their legitimate powers, and successful caravan leaders must be prepared to navigate complex diplomatic situations while protecting their cargo and people. As you lead the caravan away from the border post, you realize that the political challenges will only increase as you travel further west. Each territory brings new rulers, new customs, new opportunities for officials to extract tribute from passing merchants. The route ahead will test your diplomatic skills as much as your knowledge of geography and weather. 3 weeks after leaving the border post, you face the challenge that every Silk Road caravan leader dreads: crossing the Kizilkum Desert, known to merchants as the Desert of Death. This vast expanse of sand and rocky wasteland stretches for over 200 miles, with few reliable water sources and no shelter from the extremes of temperature that can kill travelers who aren't properly prepared. The desert crossing requires meticulous planning and precise execution. Water is the critical factor. Each camel needs approximately 10 gallons per day in the desert heat, which means your caravan requires over 2,000 gallons daily just to keep the animals alive. Add the human requirements, and you're looking at water needs that would require an additional 50 camels just to carry the necessary supplies. Hassan helps you plan the crossing using knowledge accumulated from previous expeditions. There are 3 reliable wells along the route, he explains, spreading a hand-drawn map on the carpet of your tent. Here, here, and here. If we can make 25 miles per day, we can reach each well before the animals become dangerously dehydrated. The plan sounds reasonable until you consider the variables that could destroy it. Sandstorms can reduce visibility to 0 and force the caravan to shelter for days, consuming precious water while making no progress. Wells can be dry, contaminated, or controlled by hostile tribes who demand tribute for access. Equipment failures can slow the caravan to the point where water supplies are exhausted before the next source is reached. Your preparation involves more than just calculating water needs. Desert travel requires different packing arrangements to protect cargo from sand and heat. Valuable items must be wrapped in additional layers of cloth and leather. Spices need extra protection to prevent contamination. Porcelain and other fragile goods require padding that can withstand the constant jolting of desert travel. The merchants are understandably nervous about the crossing. Li Wei, the Chinese porcelain dealer, expresses concerns about temperature fluctuations that could crack his goods. Mahmoud, the silk merchant, worries about sand infiltration that could damage his delicate fabrics. Ibn Battuta fears that the extreme dryness could desiccate his spices, to the point where they lose their potency and value. What guarantees can you provide? Demands Ranan Al-Tiari, a jewelry merchant from Bukhara. My cargo is worth more than 5,000 gold pieces. If it's lost in the desert, my family will be ruined. The honest answer is that you can't guarantee anything. Desert crossings are inherently dangerous, and even the most experienced caravan leaders lose cargo and sometimes lives to the harsh conditions. But acknowledging this reality would panic the merchants and possibly cause some to abandon the expedition, which would leave the remaining travelers more vulnerable. Your response balances honesty about the risks with confidence about your preparation and experience. The desert is dangerous, you acknowledge, but thousands of caravans have crossed it successfully. We have detailed maps of the route, contracts with local guides who know current conditions, and sufficient water reserves to handle reasonable delays. The crossing begins before dawn on a day when the weather conditions seem favorable. You've reorganized the caravan into smaller groups that can move more quickly and be more easily managed if problems develop. The most valuable cargo is distributed among multiple camels to prevent total loss if individual animals are lost. The first day goes according to plan, with the caravan covering 28 miles and reaching the first well by late afternoon. The water source is clean and abundant, allowing you to refill containers and give the animals a full drink. Morale is high as the group makes camp for the night. But the second day brings the first serious crisis when a sandstorm blows in from the southeast just after sunrise. The winds are strong enough to knock down tents and scatter loose cargo, while the sand makes breathing difficult and reduces visibility to less than 10 feet. The storm lasts 18 hours, during which the caravan can make no progress and must consume water reserves while sheltering behind improvised windbreaks. When visibility finally clears, you discover that 12 camels have broken loose during the storm and wandered away into the desert. The missing camels represent more than just lost animals. They're carrying approximately 4,800 pounds of cargo belonging to 6 different merchants, plus crucial water supplies that could be needed if the journey takes longer than anticipated. Hassan organizes search parties, while you face the terrible decision of whether to delay the entire caravan while looking for the missing animals, or continue on schedule and abandon them. To the desert, we can't wait more than one day, you tell Hassan during a hurried conference. The water consumption during the storm put us behind on our reserves. If we spend too much time searching, we risk losing everyone to dehydration. The merchants whose cargo is missing predictably argue for extended search efforts, while those whose goods are secure push for immediate departure. Rahman al-Tiari, whose jewelry was among the lost cargo, becomes almost violent in his demands. "You guaranteed safe passage," he shouts, his face red with heat and anger. "I paid premium fees for your protection, and now you're abandoning my life's work in the sand." Your response requires balancing legitimate concern for the merchant's losses with responsibility for the safety of the entire caravan. "We will search until sunset today," you announce. "Every man and animal we can spare will be looking for the missing camels, but tomorrow we must resume the journey, or we risk losing everything to the desert." The search teams return throughout the day with mixed results. They recover 8 of the 12 missing camels, along with most of their cargo. 2 camels are found dead from dehydration, their loads scattered by scavengers. 2 are never found at all, presumably having wandered too far into the trackless wastes to be located. The losses are significant but not catastrophic. Rahman al-Tiari has lost approximately 40% of his jewelry. Ibn Battuta has lost a substantial quantity of cardamom, and the caravan's water reserves are lower than planned. But the expedition remains viable if no further disasters occur. The psychological impact is as important as the material losses. The merchants have been confronted with the reality that despite your best efforts and extensive experience, the desert can destroy their investments and possibly their lives. Some respond by becoming more cooperative and disciplined, recognizing that survival depends on group cohesion. Others become more demanding and suspicious, questioning every decision and constantly calculating their potential losses. The remainder of the desert crossing proceeds without major incident. though the reduced water supplies require strict rationing that makes everyone uncomfortable. You reach the second. While after 4 days of travel, only to discover that it's been contaminated by a dead animal and is unusable for drinking. This forces a grueling forced march to the third well, covering nearly 40 miles in a single day to avoid fatal dehydration. The pace costs you 3 more camels and leaves both animals and people exhausted, but it gets the caravan to safe water. Before disaster strikes, when you finally emerge from the desert after 9 days of travel, the caravan has lost 15 camels and approximately 6,000 pounds of cargo. 5 merchants have suffered significant losses, and everyone is physically and emotionally drained from the experience. But you've also accomplished something remarkable, successfully, leading over 200 people and animals across one of the world's most dangerous deserts with relatively minimal casualties. The experience builds your credibility as a caravan leader, while teaching valuable lessons about crisis management under extreme conditions. After 3 days of rest and resupply in Khiva, the caravan faces its next major challenge: crossing the mountain passes that separate the Central Asian steppes from the Middle Eastern trade centers. The route through the mountains is shorter than alternatives, but it's treacherous, with narrow paths, unstable weather, and the constant threat of avalanches or rockfalls. The mountain crossing requires different preparations than the desert journey. Instead of water, the primary concerns are cold weather protection, secure footing for loaded animals, and navigation through passes that can be blocked by snow or made impassable by storms. Hassan coordinates with local guides who specialize in mountain travel, while you reorganize the caravan to handle the different challenges. The long single-file formation used in the desert won't work on narrow mountain paths. So, you divide the caravan into smaller groups that can move independently and provide mutual assistance if problems develop. The passes are clear now, reports Yusuf, the mountain guide you've hired. But weather can change quickly at altitude. Snow or ice storms can close the routes for days, and there's limited shelter for a caravan this size. The cargo requires additional protection against cold and moisture. Silk must be wrapped in waterproof covers to prevent damage from snow or rain. Spices need insulation to prevent freezing that could affect their quality. Porcelain requires extra padding to protect against the jolting caused by rough mountain paths. The first day of mountain travel provides a gentle introduction to the challenges ahead. The path climbs gradually through forested slopes where the temperature is cool, but not dangerous. The camels handle the gradient well, and the scenery is spectacular enough to improve morale after the harsh desert crossing. But conditions deteriorate rapidly as you climb higher. The air becomes thin enough to cause breathing difficulties for both people and animals. Temperatures drop below freezing at night, requiring additional fuel for heating and warm clothing that many merchants haven't brought with them. The most dangerous section is a narrow ledge path that winds around a steep cliff face for nearly 3 miles. The trail is barely wide enough for loaded camels, with a sheer drop of hundreds of feet on one side and unstable rock walls on the other. You spend an entire day getting the caravan across this section, moving small groups at a time to minimize the risk of disaster. Each group requires careful supervision, with experienced handlers leading the camels and guards positioned to provide assistance if animals stumble or cargo shifts. The crossing claims 2 more camels and approximately 800 pounds of cargo. When a section of the path crumbles under the weight of a heavily loaded animal, the camel falls to its death and its cargo is scattered on the rocks below. Impossible to recover? The loss is Rahman al-Tiari's. More of his jewelry disappears into the mountains, adding to his losses from the desert crossing. This is the second major loss of my goods. He confronts you that evening. At what point do I conclude that this expedition is cursed, or that your leadership is incompetent? His anger is understandable, but dangerous. If he convinces other merchants to lose confidence in your leadership, the expedition could dissolve into competing factions that would be more vulnerable to bandits and less able to handle future challenges. Your response combines acknowledgement of his losses with a realistic assessment of the risks inherent in Silk Road travel. Every caravan suffers losses. You tell him and the other merchants who gather to hear the discussion. The alternative to accepting these risks is to abandon the trade entirely and accept much smaller profits from local markets. You support your argument with specific examples from other expeditions, demonstrating that the losses you've suffered so far are within normal ranges for Silk Road travel. This helps maintain confidence while acknowledging the legitimate concerns of merchants who are watching their investments disappear. The remainder of the mountain crossing proceeds more smoothly, though cold weather and difficult terrain continue to slow progress and consume supplies. You lose 2 more animals to exhaustion and suffer minor cargo losses when equipment failures cause loading problems. But when the caravan finally descends from the mountains into the warmer valleys approaching Merv, you've successfully completed another major challenge. The mountain crossing has cost you a total of 4 camels and approximately 1,200 pounds of cargo, while providing crucial experience in handling cold weather conditions and difficult terrain. The approach to Merv takes you through territory known for bandit activity, lawless regions where desperate men prey on merchant caravans, and local authorities are either corrupt or powerless to provide protection. This is the challenge that keeps caravan leaders awake at night, because unlike natural disasters or political difficulties, bandit attacks can destroy an entire expedition in a matter of hours. Your security preparations begin days before entering the dangerous territory. The 12 guards who've been traveling with the caravan are experienced fighters, but they're vastly outnumbered by the potential threats you might face. Successful defense depends more on avoiding conflicts than winning them. Azam briefs you on the intelligence he's gathered from other travelers and local contacts. 3 major bandit groups operate in this region, he explains, pointing to locations on his crude map. The Red Scarf Brotherhood controls the northern routes. The Desert Hawks operate from caves in the southern hills, and a group calling itself the Merchant's Bane has been active along the main road. Your decision is to continue normal travel while preparing for potential conflict. You send Hassan with 2 guards to negotiate with the bandits, while organizing the caravan into defensive positions that can be quickly activated if talks fail. The negotiation takes place in sight of the caravan, with both sides maintaining respectful distance while their representatives discuss terms. Hassan returns after an hour with news that could be good or bad, depending on your perspective. There, from the Red Scarf Brotherhood, he reports. They want tribute to 300 silver pieces, plus 1 camel load of trade goods of their choosing. In exchange, they'll provide safe passage through their territory and protection from other bandit groups. The demand represents approximately 5% of the caravan's total value. Expensive, but not ruinous. However, paying tribute to one group might encourage demands from others, potentially resulting in a series of payments that could eliminate the expedition's profits. The negotiations with the Red Scarf Brotherhood become a crucial test of your leadership and diplomatic skills. The stakes are enormous. Miscalculate the situation, and you could lose everything the bandit attacks, but give in too easily to their demands, and you might encourage additional tribute requests from other groups. Hassan serves as your primary negotiator, but the decisions are yours to make. The bandit representatives are led by a man who calls himself Rustam the Bold, a surprisingly articulate leader who speaks fluent Persian and demonstrates detailed knowledge of caravan operations and trade routes. We provide a valuable service, Rustam explains during the initial discussions. This territory is dangerous, filled with groups who would kill your entire caravan for a fraction of its value. We offer protection and safe passage in exchange for reasonable compensation. His argument has merit. Bandit groups often do provide protection against other bandits, and the tribute he's demanding is within normal ranges for such arrangements. But accepting his terms sets a precedent that could be expensive if other groups make similar demands. Your counterargument focuses on the caravan's limited resources and the number of different authorities who've already demanded payments. We've paid taxes to 3 different political authorities and tribute to local officials in 4 cities. You respond through Hassan's translation. Our margins are already thin, and additional payments threaten the expedition's viability. The negotiation continues for several hours, with both sides testing the other's resolve and flexibility. Rustem reduces his demand to 250 silver pieces plus half a camel load of goods, while you offer 200 pieces plus guaranteed future business if his protection proves effective. The final agreement settles at 225 silver pieces plus selected trade goods worth approximately 100 pieces, payable immediately in exchange for written safe conduct passes and an escort through the most dangerous sections of their territory. It's expensive but within acceptable limits, and it comes with genuine protection that could prevent larger losses. But the real test comes 2 days later when you encounter a group from the Desert Hawks who attempt to ambush the caravan despite the Red Scarf Brotherhood's protection. The attack is repelled by the combined efforts of your guards and the Brotherhood escorts, but not before the attackers killed 2 camels and wound one of your merchants. The successful defense validates your decision to pay for protection, while demonstrating the ongoing dangers of Silk Road travel. Without the additional fighters provided by the Brotherhood, the Desert Hawks attack could have been catastrophic. Ibn Battuta, who suffered a sword wound to his left arm during the fighting, expresses grudging appreciation for the security arrangements. I complained about paying tribute, he admits while Hassan bandages his wound. But without those extra fighters, we might have lost everything. The bandit territory transit takes 8 days total, during which you encounter 3 more potentially hostile groups. In each case, the Red Scarf Brotherhood's safe conduct passes prevent conflicts, though you're required to pay additional administrative fees to 2 groups that claim authority over specific sections of the route. When you finally exit bandit territory with the loss of only 2 camels and minor cargo damage, you've learned valuable lessons about the complex political relationships between different criminal groups and the importance of understanding local power structures. The experience also demonstrates something crucial about Silk Road leadership. Sometimes the best decisions involve accepting significant costs to prevent catastrophic losses. The tribute payments have reduced the expedition's profits, but they've kept the caravan intact and moving toward its destination. Your arrival in Merv coincides with one of the most serious challenges any caravan leader can face: a city experiencing a plague outbreak. The Black Death has been affecting communities across Asia and Europe for decades, and Merv is currently dealing with a health crisis that has significantly reduced its population. The signs are immediately visible as you approach the city's gates. Medical wagons are present for health services. Smoke rises from purification fires outside the walls, and the normal bustle of trade activity is dramatically reduced. Many buildings are marked with symbols indicating health concerns, and residents move carefully through the streets with protective coverings. Hassan scouts the situation and returns with disturbing news. The city authorities are quarantining all incoming caravans for 14 days before allowing entry. He reports anyone showing symptoms is refused entry entirely. Several recent caravans have been turned away completely, and 2 have been burned outside the walls when plague was discovered among their members. The quarantine presents a serious dilemma. Merv is a crucial resupply point where you plan to purchase fresh provisions, repair equipment, and rest the animals before continuing west. Bypassing the city means traveling hundreds of additional miles through territory where supplies may not be available. But entering plague territory risks infection that could destroy the entire caravan. The disease spreads rapidly in crowded conditions, like those in a merchant caravan, and mortality rates are horrific, often 60% or more of infected populations die within weeks. The merchants predictably have strong and conflicting opinions about how to proceed. Li Wei argues strenuously for bypassing Merv entirely, claiming that no amount of supplies is worth risking infection. Mamhu takes the opposite position, insisting that the caravan needs the supplies available in Merv and that plague risks are exaggerated by fear and superstition. My family has been trading through plague cities for generations, Mahmud argues. If you take reasonable precautions and trust in God's protection, the risks are manageable. But if we bypass Merv, we'll face certain hardships that could be more dangerous than possible plague infection. Rahman al-Tayyari supports entering the city, though his motives are partly financial. I've already suffered significant losses on this journey, he points out. If I don't reach Constantinople with my remaining goods, my family will face financial ruin. We must take calculated risks to complete the expedition. Your decision requires balancing genuine medical concerns with practical travel necessities. The caravan's water supplies are running low. Several camels need veterinary attention that's only available in major cities. And the route ahead includes challenging terrain where emergency supplies could be crucial. After consulting with Hassan and the most experienced guards, you decide to attempt entry into Merv with strict precautions designed to minimize infection risks. The approach involves splitting the caravan into small groups that enter the city separately, limiting contact with local populations, and maintaining quarantine procedures even after gaining entry. The precautions prove essential when the city's health inspectors examine your caravan members for plague symptoms. 2 merchants, one suffering from fever and another with swollen lymph nodes, are refused entry and must be isolated outside the city walls. If they have plague, they'll die within days. The chief inspector explains matter-of-factly. If they don't, they'll recover and can rejoin your caravan when you depart. Either way, they cannot enter the city. The merchants left outside are Ibn Battuta, still suffering from infection in the wound he received during the bandit attack, and a jewelry trader named Jakob, who's developed symptoms that could be plague or could be simple illness. Both are terrified at being abandoned outside a plague city. But neither you nor the city authorities have alternatives. Hassan volunteers to remain with the quarantined men, providing them with supplies and medical attention while monitoring their conditions. His decision to risk infection for the Saki of caravan members demonstrates the kind of loyalty that holds expeditions together during crisis situations. Your 5 days in Merv provide a terrifying education in plague survival and the breakdown of normal social order. The city, once a thriving center of trade and scholarship, has been transformed into a nightmare landscape where normal human relationships have been replaced by desperate struggles for survival. The markets that should be bustling with traders and customers are nearly empty, operated by desperate survivors who charge enormous prices for basic supplies, food that would normally cost a few copper coins now require silver pieces, and essential items like medicine and clean water command prices that would have been unthinkable before the plague struck. Your purchasing strategy focuses on items that will be essential for continued travel rather than luxury goods or optional supplies. Fresh water, dried food that won't spoil, medicines for treating injuries and illnesses, and replacement equipment for damaged gear take priority over everything else. But even basic shopping requires elaborate precautions to avoid infection. You and your men cover your faces, avoid touching surfaces unnecessarily, and maintain distance from other people whenever possible. Transactions are conducted quickly, with payment left in containers that sellers can retrieve after you've moved away. The psychological impact of the plague city is as challenging as the medical risks. Everywhere you look, there's evidence of human suffering and social collapse. Families have abandoned sick relatives Businesses have been shuttered, and normal civic functions have largely ceased. I've never seen anything like this, Hassan confides during one of your conversations. It's as if the entire city is dying slowly, and the survivors are just waiting their turn. The experience affects different caravan members in various ways. Li Wei becomes almost paralyzed with fear, refusing to leave the caravan camp and constantly washing his hands and belongings. Mahmud responds with increased religious devotion, praying constantly and attributing survival to divine protection. Rahman al-Tiyari focuses obsessively on completing business transactions, as if maintaining normal commercial activities can somehow protect him from the surrounding chaos. Your own response involves maintaining strict discipline and focus on the practical requirements of keeping the caravan functional. You establish quarantine procedures for anyone showing symptoms, organize regular health inspections of all caravan members, and create contingency plans for dealing with plague outbreaks among your own people. The precautions prove essential when one of your guards develops fever and concerning symptoms on the 4th day in Merv. Following your established health protocols, he's immediately provided with medical care and isolated to prevent potential spread of illness to others. His condition is serious, Hassan reports after consultation with local physicians. We need to focus on preventing any spread of illness while providing proper care. The guard's condition deteriorates over the next day, and despite medical efforts, he cannot continue with the expedition. This serves as stark reminder of health risks while testing your leadership under difficult medical circumstances. The other guards are terrified that they might be next. The merchants demand immediate departure from the plague city. Everyone looks to you for decisions that could determine who lives and who dies. Your response involves balancing legitimate health concerns with the practical requirements of completing the expedition. You organize a respectful burial for the dead guard, implement additional health screening procedures, and announce immediate departure from Merv to reduce further infection risks. The departure preparations are complicated by the situation with the 2 quarantined merchants outside the city. Ibn Battuta has recovered from his infected wound and shows no signs of plague, but Jakob has developed full plague symptoms and is clearly dying. We can take Ibn Battuta with us, you decide, but Jakob is too sick to travel and too infectious to risk exposing the rest of the caravan. He'll have to remain here. The decision is medically sound but emotionally devastating. Jakob understands that he's being left to die alone in a plague city, and his pleas for mercy are heartbreaking. But taking him with the caravan could result in infections that kill dozens of additional people. Ibn Battuta's recovery allows him to rejoin the caravan, though he remains under medical observation for signs of delayed plague symptoms. Hassan's volunteer service with the quarantined merchants has earned him tremendous respect from the other caravan members, though he also remains under observation for potential infection. When you finally leave Merv, your caravan has been reduced by 1 guard and 1 merchant, while gaining sobering experience with one of the most feared dangers of medieval trade. Routes. The Plague City transit has cost approximately 800 silver pieces in inflated supply costs. But more importantly, it's demonstrated the fragility of life and commerce in a world where disease can destroy entire communities. 2 weeks after leaving Merv, the caravan reaches Ray, one of the great crossroads cities of the Persian region. Unlike plague-stricken Merv, Ray is thriving, with bustling markets, active trade routes, and the complex political dynamics that characterize successful commercial centers. The city presents new challenges related to politics, economics, and cultural navigation. Ray is controlled by the Ilkhanate, the Mongol dynasty that rules Persia, but the actual administration involves a complex mixture of Mongol officials, Persian bureaucrats, and Arab merchants who collectively manage trade, taxation, and security. Understanding and navigating these relationships requires diplomatic skills that go far beyond simple route knowledge. Each group has specific interests and concerns that must be addressed appropriately, and mistakes in protocol or etiquette can result in delays, additional taxes, or even confiscation of goods. Hassan briefs you on the political situation as the caravan approaches Ri's gates. The Mongol governor is primarily concerned with security and tax collection, he explains. The Persian administrators handle most daily business, but are sensitive about preserving their traditional authorities. The Arab merchants control much of the wholesale trade and can facilitate or obstruct business depending on how they're approached. Your strategy involves presenting appropriate gifts and tributes to each group, while emphasizing the caravan's peaceful intentions and economic contributions. The gifts must be valuable enough to demonstrate respect, but not so expensive as to appear either weak or threatening. The initial meetings go smoothly, with each group accepting your tributes and providing the necessary permissions for trade and resupply activities. But complications develop when competing Persian and Arab merchants attempt to manipulate your caravan's business relationships for their own advantage. The silk merchant Mahmud is offering his goods at below market prices, reports Hassan after a day of market negotiations. Several local dealers want exclusive access to his inventory, and they're offering substantial commissions if we'll refuse to trade with their competitors. Similar conflicts develop around Li Wei's porcelain and the remaining spice inventories. Ri's merchants recognize that your caravan carries high quality goods that could be extremely profitable, and they're willing to engage in aggressive competition to secure favorable deals. Your challenge is to maintain profitable relationships with local merchants while avoiding entanglement in their political and commercial disputes. Favoring one group over another could result in retaliation that affects future business, while refusing to engage in the local commercial networks could mean missing opportunities for essential supplies and services. The solution involves spreading your business among multiple competing groups while maintaining neutrality in their disputes. You sell portions of different merchants' inventories to different local dealers, purchase supplies from various sources, and avoid making commitments that would align the caravan with any particular faction. The approach succeeds commercially, but creates new diplomatic challenges when local merchants attempt to pressure you into exclusive relationships. Rahman al-Tiyari faces particular pressure because his remaining jewelry represents extremely high-value merchandise that local dealers desperately want to acquire. They're offering prices 30% above what I expected, he reports excitedly. But they want exclusive rights to my entire remaining inventory, and they're demanding that I refuse to trade with their competitors in other cities. The offer is tempting, especially given Rahman's previous losses. But accepting exclusive dealing arrangements could create problems in future cities where the same merchants have competitors. Word travels quickly along trade routes, and commercial relationships in one city often affect opportunities in others. Your advice to Rahman and the other merchants emphasizes long-term thinking over short-term gains. Take fair prices for reasonable quantities, you counsel, but maintain the flexibility to trade with different partners in different cities. Exclusive relationships might seem profitable now, but they could limit your options later. The advice proves sound when you discover that several of Ri's merchants are connected to trading networks in Constantinople and exclusive dealing arrangements. Here could indeed affect your reception in your final destination. Ri's cultural complexity provides education in the sophisticated diplomatic skills required for successful Silk Road leadership. The city contains Muslim, Christian, Jewish, and Zoroastrian communities, each with specific customs, holidays, and business practices that must be understood and respected. Your caravan's religious diversity, it includes Muslim, Christian, and Buddhist merchants, creates both opportunities and challenges in navigating Ri's cultural landscape. Each community can potentially provide specialized services and business connections. But religious tensions sometimes complicate commercial relationships. The opportunities become apparent when the city's Christian community, led by a Nestorian merchant named Marcus, offers special assistance to Li Wei because of shared religious connections. Marcus provides warehouse space at reduced rates and helps negotiate favorable currency exchange rates, saving the caravan substantial money. But tensions emerge when some Muslim merchants object to your business relationships with Jewish traders. And Jewish merchants express concerns about dealing with merchants from Christian communities they consider heretical. These religious disputes threaten to complicate essential business transactions. Your approach involves emphasizing the caravan's commercial rather than religious character, while respecting each community's specific requirements. You arrange separate meetings with different religious leaders, demonstrate appropriate respect for various customs, and avoid taking sides in theological disputes. We are merchants, not theologians. You explain to community leaders who attempt to involve you in religious controversies. Our business is trade, and we seek profitable relationships with honorable people regardless of their personal beliefs. The strategy works well until you encounter a situation where religious law conflicts with commercial necessity. The city's Islamic authorities prohibit certain types of interest payments that are essential for financing currency exchanges, while Christian merchants refuse to engage in business practices they consider usurious. Hassan helps you navigate these challenges by finding merchants who specialize in structuring transactions to satisfy different religious requirements while accomplishing necessary financial objectives. These specialists command premium fees for their services, but they enable complex deals that would otherwise be impossible. The cultural navigation lessons prove valuable beyond immediate business concerns. Understanding how different communities interact in Ray provides insight into similar dynamics you'll encounter in other cosmopolitan cities along the route. Every major trade city has similar complexity, Hassan observes. Learning to work with diverse groups here will help us handle situations in Baghdad, Damascus, and Constantinople. Your education includes practical skills like appropriate greeting customs for different communities, gift-giving protocols that demonstrate respect without implying religious conversion, and negotiation techniques that accommodate various cultural expectations about business relationships. The most valuable lesson involves understanding how economic interests often override religious or cultural differences when substantial profits are available. Despite their theoretical conflicts, merchants from different communities regularly cooperate on lucrative deals, finding creative solutions to apparent incompatibilities. This insight helps you structure several important transactions by emphasizing mutual economic benefits while downplaying cultural differences that could complicate negotiations. Leaving Ray begins the next phase of your journey, the approach to Baghdad, one of the greatest cities in the medieval world and a crucial hub for trade between Asia and Europe. The route between Ray and Baghdad takes you through some of the most civilized and prosperous territory you'll encounter, but it also presents new challenges related to competition, regulation, and the sophisticated commercial practices of established trade centers. The roads themselves are better maintained than anything you've traveled so far, with regular caravanserais providing accommodation and supplies at predictable intervals. But the improved infrastructure comes with increased regulation and taxation as various authorities seek to extract revenue from the profitable trade traffic. Your first encounter with this regulatory complexity comes at a checkpoint, operated by officials representing the Abbasid Caliphate, the political authority that nominally controls the region. The officials are professional and courteous. They require detailed documentation of your cargo, destinations, and commercial relationships. New regulations require all caravans carrying goods worth more than 2,000 silver pieces to register with commercial authorities and pay advance taxes based on estimated sale values, explains the chief inspector, a well-educated man who speaks multiple languages fluently. The registration process takes 2 days and costs approximately 150 silver pieces in fees and taxes, but it provides official documentation that should facilitate business in Baghdad and other Abbasid territories. More importantly, it gives you insight into the sophisticated administrative systems you'll encounter in major cities. Hassan uses the delay to gather intelligence about conditions ahead, speaking with officials, other merchants, and local residents about political developments, market conditions, and potential challenges. The information he collects proves invaluable for planning your approach to Baghdad. There's good news and bad news, he reports. The good news is that Baghdad's markets are stable and profitable, with strong demand for the types of goods we're carrying. The bad news is that competition from other caravans is intense, and local merchants have become more selective about their trading partners. The competitive situation requires strategic thinking about how to position your caravan's offerings in a sophisticated market. Unlike smaller cities where foreign goods are automatically valuable because of their rarity, Baghdad merchants have access to products from throughout the known world and can afford to be choosy about quality, prices, and trading relationships. Your strategy involves identifying specific niches where your cargo offers particular advantages. Liway's porcelain, for example, might be especially valuable to merchants who specialize in luxury goods for wealthy households. Ibn Battuta's spices could appeal to dealers who supply the city's sophisticated restaurant and catering businesses. Rahman Altiari's remaining jewelry presents unique challenges and opportunities. His losses during the journey have reduced his inventory, but the surviving pieces are of exceptional quality and could command premium prices from the right buyers. Baghdad's wealthy elite includes individuals who can afford truly expensive luxury items. The approach to Baghdad takes you through increasingly densely populated territory, with villages, towns, and commercial establishments creating an almost continuous urban environment. This provides opportunities for small-scale trading that can generate additional revenue while testing market conditions for your main inventory. But the dense population also creates security challenges different from those you faced in more isolated regions. Instead of open bandit attacks, you must guard against thieves, pickpockets, and confidence artists who prey on travelers in urban environments. The guards adapt their security procedures accordingly, maintaining closer surveillance of the caravan's valuable items while developing techniques for crowd control and urban navigation. The complexity of managing a large caravan in populated areas requires different skills than desert or mountain travel. Your arrival in Baghdad is overwhelming in ways you didn't anticipate. The city is enormous, possibly the largest you've ever seen, with a population that might exceed 500,000 people. The famous round city built by the Abbasid caliphs is surrounded by sprawling commercial and residential districts that extend for miles in every direction. The sheer scale of commercial activity is staggering. Baghdad's markets contain goods from throughout the known world: Chinese silk and porcelain, Indian spices and precious stones, African gold and ivory, European furs and amber, and products from dozens of regions you've never heard of. Your caravan's cargo, which seemed exotic and valuable in smaller cities, appears almost commonplace in this cosmopolitan environment. Hassan secures space in a caravanserai that specializes in accommodating large trading expeditions. While you begin the complex process of registering with commercial authorities and establishing relationships with potential trading partners, the bureaucracy is sophisticated but efficient, with specialized officials handling different aspects of trade regulation and taxation. Your registration documents from Ray are in good order, confirms the commercial registrar, a middle-aged man whose office walls are covered with maps and trading charts. However, Baghdad requires additional documentation for certain categories of goods, particularly luxury items and materials that might have military applications. The additional documentation process takes several days and involves interviews with officials who ask detailed questions about your cargo sources, transportation methods, and intended sale destinations. The scrutiny is professional but thorough, designed to prevent illegal trade while facilitating legitimate commerce. Meanwhile, you begin exploring Baghdad's commercial landscape to identify the most promising opportunities for your merchants. The city's markets are organized by specialization, with separate districts for different types of goods and services. This organization makes it easier to find appropriate buyers, but it also means that competition within each specialty is intense. Liwei's porcelain attracts immediate interest from several luxury goods dealers, but the prices they offer are lower than expected because of competition from other Chinese merchants who've arrived recently. There are 3 other caravans here with similar inventories, explains one dealer. Unless you can offer something distinctive, prices will remain suppressed. Ibn Battuta faces similar challenges in the spice markets, whereas cardamom and other goods compete with fresh inventories from India and Southeast Asia. His losses during the journey have reduced his negotiating leverage, since he needs to sell quickly rather than waiting for more favorable market conditions. Rahman al-Tiyari's situation is more complex. His remaining jewelry is of exceptional quality and could command premium prices. But finding appropriate buyers requires connections to Baghdad's wealthy elite that take time to develop. Several local merchants offer to facilitate such connections in exchange for substantial commissions. Your role evolves from caravan leader to commercial advisor as you help your merchants navigate Baghdad's sophisticated business environment. The skills that enabled you to guide the caravan safely across deserts and mountains are different from those needed to maximize profits in a competitive urban market. The education you receive in Baghdad's commercial practices proves valuable. Beyond immediate business concerns, the techniques used by successful merchants here, market analysis, customer relationship management, quality assessment, and strategic pricing, are applicable in any major trading center. But you also discover that commercial success in sophisticated markets requires different resources than physical survival during dangerous travel. Access to information, established relationships, and financial flexibility become more important than the endurance and courage that dominated earlier phases of the journey. Your 2-week stay in Baghdad becomes an intensive education in sophisticated commercial practices that go far beyond the simple buying and selling you've encountered in smaller cities. Baghdad's merchant community operates according to complex customs, relationships, and unwritten rules that must be understood and respected to achieve success. The first lesson involves understanding the city's commercial hierarchy. At the top are established merchant families who've been trading for generations and have connections throughout the region. Below them are successful individual traders who've built substantial businesses through skill and luck. At the bottom are small-scale dealers and occasional traders who compete primarily on price. Your caravan's merchants occupy different positions in this hierarchy, depending on their experience, resources, and specializations. Rahman al-Tayari, despite his journey losses, has sufficient remaining inventory and family connections to deal with upper-tier merchants. Ibn Battuta and the other spice dealers operate primarily in the middle tier, while some smaller merchants in your caravan are relegated to basic price competition. Understanding these distinctions helps you advise your merchants about appropriate strategies for different market segments. Rahman can afford to wait for premium buyers and hold out for higher prices. Ibn Battuta needs to balance quick sales against potential price improvements. Smaller merchants may need to accept lower margins to ensure sales before departing Baghdad. The second lesson involves the sophisticated financial instruments that facilitate large-scale trade. Baghdad's merchants use letters of credit, partnership, agreements, insurance contracts, and other devices that allow complex transactions spanning multiple cities and time periods. Liwei, for example, arranges a deal where he sells half his porcelain inventory immediately for cash while consigning the remainder to a Baghdad merchant who will transport it to Damascus and split the profits. The arrangement provides immediate funds while potentially generating higher returns from the Damascus market. These financial innovations require understanding legal frameworks, credit assessments, and relationship management that goes far beyond simple cash transactions. Hassan proves invaluable in navigating these complexities, using knowledge gained from previous caravan experiences to help structure beneficial deals. The third lesson involves the importance of reputation and relationships in determining commercial success. Baghdad's merchant community is relatively small and interconnected, with information about trading practices, reliability, and quality spreading quickly through informal networks. Your caravan's reputation for successful completion of dangerous routes provides credibility that facilitates business relationships. Merchants who've heard about your desert crossing, mountain transit, and bandit negotiations view you and your merchants as serious professionals worth doing business with. But reputation cuts both ways. Any evidence of dishonest dealing, poor quality goods, or unreliable business practices would spread quickly and damage future opportunities not just in Baghdad, but throughout the regional trading network. This recognition leads you to emphasize quality and honesty in all transactions, even when short-term advantages might be gained through deceptive practices. The long-term value of maintaining good reputation outweighs immediate profits from questionable deals. The fourth lesson involves understanding cultural nuances that affect business relationships. Baghdad's merchant community includes people from dozens of different ethnic and religious backgrounds, each with specific customs and expectations about appropriate business behavior. Successful merchants learn to adapt their approaches to different cultural contexts while maintaining their own integrity and principles. This might involve adjusting negotiation styles, gift-giving practices, or social interaction patterns to match the expectations of specific trading partners. Your own education in these practices proves valuable for future caravan leadership, since the skills needed to navigate Baghdad's commercial complexity are applicable in other major trading centers throughout the Silk Road network. After 2 successful weeks in Baghdad, your caravan has been resupplied, refreshed, and commercially restructured for the final leg of the journey to Constantinople. The Baghdad experience has generated enough profits to cover previous losses while providing resources for the challenging road ahead. Li Wei has sold approximately 60% of his porcelain inventory at favorable prices, while arranging consignment deals for the remainder that should generate additional profits in Damascus and Constantinople. His commercial success has restored his confidence and provided financial flexibility for future trading ventures. Ibn Battuta has liquidated most of his spice inventory, accepting moderate profits that compensate for his earlier losses while ensuring adequate funds for completing the journey. His decision to prioritize certainty over potential higher returns reflects hard-earned wisdom about the risks of extended trading ventures. Rahman al-Tayyari has achieved remarkable success despite his earlier losses, selling his remaining jewelry to wealthy Baghdad collectors at prices that exceed his original investment for the entire journey. His survival of multiple disasters followed by commercial triumph demonstrates the potential rewards that justify Silk Road risks. The other merchants have achieved varying degrees of success, but all have generated sufficient profits to justify their participation in the expedition. More importantly, they've gained experience and connections that will benefit future trading ventures. Your own success as caravan leader has generated both financial rewards and professional reputation that position you for future opportunities in the Silk Road trade. The combination of successful route management, crisis leadership, and commercial facilitation establishes you as a proven professional in a demanding field. The final preparations for leaving Baghdad involve acquiring supplies and equipment for the remaining journey while reorganizing the caravan structure to reflect changed circumstances. Some merchants who achieve their commercial objectives in Baghdad choose to remain in the city rather than continuing to Constantinople. Others join the caravan for the final leg, having completed their own business in Baghdad and seeking transportation to European markets. These changes require adjustments to security arrangements, supply calculations, and travel organization. The caravan leaving Baghdad is different from the one that departed Samarkand months earlier. Smaller in some ways, but more experienced and better organized. Hassan coordinates the complex logistics, while you focus on route planning and relationship management with the new caravan members. The final segment of the journey presents different challenges from earlier phases, requiring adaptation to new political territories, geographical conditions, and commercial environments. The road from Baghdad to Constantinople is well-traveled but politically complex. Hassan explains during your planning sessions. We'll cross territories controlled by multiple competing authorities, each with different tax systems, security arrangements, and commercial regulations. The political complexity requires diplomatic preparation similar to what you've already experienced, but intensified by the proximity to European markets where different trading relationships and commercial practices dominate. Understanding these differences is crucial for success in Constantinople, one of the world's great cosmopolitan trading centers. The geographical challenges of the final route segment include river crossings, mountain passes, and seasonal weather conditions that could affect travel times and cargo safety. But these physical obstacles are manageable compared to the political and commercial navigation required in the sophisticated markets approaching European territories. Your departure from Baghdad marks a transition from the Asian portion of your journey to the Middle Eastern and eventually European segments. Each transition brings new learning opportunities and new challenges that test different aspects of your leadership capabilities. 3 weeks after leaving Baghdad, an unexpected opportunity arises that will test your judgment and flexibility as caravan leader. Reports from other travelers indicate that Damascus is experiencing a temporary shortage of certain luxury goods due to supply disruptions from Egypt, creating potential for exceptional profits for merchants carrying appropriate inventory. The opportunity is significant but risky. Detouring to Damascus would add approximately 3 weeks to your journey, while exposing the caravan to additional political uncertainties and travel dangers. But the potential profits could be enormous, possibly doubling the returns for merchants who still carry substantial inventory. Li Wei, who arranged consignment deals for part of his porcelain inventory, is particularly interested in the Damascus opportunity. My Baghdad partner specifically mentioned that Damascus prices for high-quality porcelain are currently 40% above normal. He explains excitedly, if we can reach the city while the shortage continues, the profits could be extraordinary. Other merchants have mixed reactions to the proposal. Those who sold most of their goods in Baghdad have little to gain from the detour and prefer to reach Constantinople on schedule. Those still carrying substantial inventory are intrigued by the profit potential, but concerned about the additional risks and expenses. Your decision-making process involves weighing multiple factors that affect different caravan members differently. The detour would benefit merchants with remaining inventory, while imposing costs on those who've already achieved their commercial objectives. It would generate additional guide fees and leadership compensation for you while potentially exposing everyone to unnecessary dangers. The political situation adds complexity to the decision. Damascus is controlled by Mamluk authorities, who maintain generally good relationships with merchants, but have been known to impose emergency taxes on valuable cargo when city finances are strained. The current luxury goods shortage might tempt officials to extract additional revenues from passing caravans. Hassan gathers intelligence from other travelers and local contacts to assess the risks and opportunities. The shortage appears to be real, he reports, but it's caused by political disputes with Egyptian suppliers. There's no guarantee how long current conditions will persist, and there's some risk that Egyptian competition could resume while we're en route. After consulting with the merchants and considering all available information, you decide to attempt the Damascus detour with careful contingency planning. The potential profits justify the risks for merchants still carrying inventory, while those who've completed their trading can use the additional time to explore new commercial relationships. The decision demonstrates adaptive leadership that balances competing interests while maintaining expedition unity. Merchants who don't directly benefit from the detour appreciate your willingness to maximize opportunities for their colleagues, building loyalty and cooperation that benefits everyone. The route to Damascus takes you through territory you haven't previously traveled, requiring new geographical knowledge and political relationships. The region is more densely populated than areas you've crossed recently, with better roads and more frequent towns, but also more complex regulatory environments. Your approach to Damascus reveals a city that's both similar to and different from Baghdad. The commercial activity is intense and sophisticated, but the political and cultural context reflects different historical influences and current relationships. Understanding these differences is crucial for commercial success. Your week in Damascus validates the decision to make the detour while providing education in yet another variant of sophisticated urban commerce. The luxury goods shortage is real and substantial, creating opportunities for exceptional profits that justify the additional time and risk involved in reaching the city. Li Wei achieves spectacular success, selling his remaining porcelain inventory at prices 45% above Baghdad levels and generating profits that exceed his original investment by a substantial margin. His commercial triumph demonstrates the potential rewards available to merchants who are willing to take calculated risks based on market intelligence. I'll never forget this lesson, he tells you as he counts his profits. Sometimes the biggest opportunities come from being flexible enough to change plans when circumstances change. Other merchants achieve varying degrees of success depending on their remaining inventory and the specific market conditions for their goods. Ibn Battuta, who retained a small quantity of rare spices, earns enough from Damascus sales to fully compensate for his earlier losses. Rahman al-Tiyari, already successful from Baghdad, uses Damascus as an opportunity to establish new trading relationships rather than pursuing additional immediate profits. But the Damascus experience provides education that extends beyond immediate commercial success. The city's merchant community operates according to different customs and practices than Baghdad, requiring adaptation to new commercial environments and relationship-building approaches. Damascus merchants place greater emphasis on personal relationships and long-term business partnerships than their Baghdad counterparts. Successful trading often depends more on trust and mutual respect developed over time than on immediate price competition or product availability. This difference affects negotiation strategies, payment arrangements, and future business planning. Merchants who understand and adapt to Damascus customs achieve better results than those who attempt to apply Baghdad practices without modification. Your own role evolves to include cultural interpretation and relationship facilitation as you help your merchants navigate Damascus's specific business environment. The skills you develop prove valuable for future caravan leadership, since cultural adaptation is essential for success in cosmopolitan trading centers. The political environment in Damascus also differs significantly from Baghdad, reflecting Mamluk rather than Abbasid authority structures and priorities. Understanding these differences helps you avoid potential conflicts while identifying opportunities for cooperation with local officials. The taxation system, for example, emphasizes customs duties on goods entering and leaving the city rather than the registration fees and administrative charges common in Abbasid territories. This creates different cost structures and strategic considerations for merchants. Planning extended stays or complex transactions, security arrangements reflect different priorities as well, with greater emphasis on protecting established merchant communities from external threats rather than regulating internal commercial activities. This creates a more relaxed environment for business operations while requiring different approaches to risk management. The week in Damascus concludes with successful commercial outcomes for most caravan members and valuable education for future trading ventures. But it also demonstrates the ongoing complexity of Silk Road commerce, where success requires constant adaptation to changing circumstances and varied local conditions. Leaving Damascus begins the final phase of your epic journey, the approach to Constantinople and the Byzantine Empire, one of the most sophisticated and challenging commercial environments in the medieval world. The road from Damascus to Constantinople takes you through territories that represent the intersection of Asian, Middle Eastern, and European trading traditions. The political landscape becomes increasingly complex as you approach Byzantine territories. The empire maintains uncertain relationships with various Muslim neighbors, creating border regions where commercial policies can change rapidly based on diplomatic developments and military considerations. Your first encounter with Byzantine administrative systems comes at a border checkpoint where officials require extensive documentation of your caravan's contents, origins, and intended activities. The scrutiny is more thorough than anything you've experienced, reflecting Byzantine sophistication in commercial regulation and taxation. Constantinople requires advance notification of all trading expeditions carrying goods worth more than 3,000 gold pieces, explains the chief border official, a well-educated man who speaks multiple languages fluently. Your caravan must register with commercial authorities and obtain trading permits before conducting business in the city. The registration process is complex and expensive, requiring detailed inventories, financial guarantees, and payment of advance taxes based on estimated transaction values. But it also provides official protection and access to commercial facilities that can facilitate successful trading. Hazan coordinates the bureaucratic requirements while you focus on intelligence gathering about conditions in Constantinople. The information you collect reveals both opportunities and challenges that will affect your merchant's success in the final destination. The markets are strong and sophisticated. Reports a returning merchant you encounter at the border post. But competition is intense and local preferences are very specific. Merchants who don't understand Byzantine customs and quality expectations often struggle to achieve profitable sales. The warning proves prescient as your caravan travels through increasingly Byzantine-influenced territory. The architectural styles, languages, and cultural practices gradually shift from Middle Eastern to European influences, requiring constant adaptation to new environments. The road itself improves dramatically as you approach Constantinople, with paved surfaces, regular maintenance, and sophisticated engineering that reflects Byzantine organizational capabilities. But the improved infrastructure comes with increased regulation and taxation as various authorities extract revenue from commercial traffic. Your caravan faces inspection at multiple checkpoints, each requiring documentation and payment of fees or taxes. The cumulative cost is substantial but manageable, representing the price of access to one of the world's most profitable markets. The final approach to Constantinople provides spectacular views of one of medieval civilization's greatest achievements. The city's massive walls, soaring churches, and busy harbors create an impression of power and prosperity that justifies the journey's hardships and expenses. But the visual splendor also emphasizes the commercial challenges ahead. Constantinople is clearly a sophisticated market where success will depend on understanding complex local preferences, regulations, and business practices that may be quite different from anything you've encountered previously. Your arrival at Constantinople's gates marks the culmination of 6 months of grueling travel across 4,000 miles of some of the world's most dangerous territory. The massive Theodosian walls rise before you like a stone mountain, pierced by gates that have witnessed the passage of countless merchants, diplomats, and armies over the centuries. The entry process reflects Byzantine administrative sophistication and commercial importance. Your caravan is directed to a special commercial zone outside the main gates where extensive inspection and documentation procedures must be completed before entry is permitted. The commercial inspector is a Greek official named Nikephoros Komnenos, whose knowledge of trade routes, goods classification, and international commerce rivals that of any merchant you've encountered. His questions are detailed and probing, designed to assess both the legitimacy of your expedition and its potential value to Byzantine interests. Your documentation appears to be in order, he notes after reviewing the papers you've accumulated from various authorities during the journey. But Constantinople requires additional guarantees for certain categories of merchandise. Silk, precious stones, and religious artifacts are subject to special regulations. The special regulations involve additional taxes, restricted sale locations, and requirements for local sponsorship by established Byzantine merchants. These restrictions could complicate your merchant's plans significantly, but they also reflect the sophisticated regulatory framework that makes Constantinople such a valuable market. Li Wei faces particular challenges because his remaining porcelain inventory includes items decorated with religious motifs that Byzantine authorities classify as potentially controversial. The classification requires special permits and limits potential buyers to approved dealers who specialize in exotic religious art. This is more complex than I expected, Li Wei confides as you work through the regulatory requirements. But if we can navigate the bureaucracy successfully, the profit potential appears to be extraordinary. Rahman al-Tayyari encounters different complications because his jewelry includes precious stones that must be evaluated by official assessors before sale permits can be issued. The assessment process is thorough and professional, but it takes time and requires payment of evaluation fees. Ibn Battuta's remaining spices are subject to quality testing to ensure they meet Byzantine standards for purity and potency. The testing process is conducted by guild officials who maintain strict criteria for imported foodstuffs, reflecting the sophisticated consumer preferences of Constantinople's wealthy population. Your own role involves facilitating these various regulatory processes while maintaining caravan cohesion and morale during what could be a frustrating period of bureaucratic navigation. The skills you've developed during the journey, patience, diplomatic tact, and attention to detail, prove essential for success in this final phase. The entry process takes 5 days total, during which time your caravan is housed in facilities designed specifically for large merchant expeditions. The accommodations are comfortable and secure, but expensive, adding to the cumulative costs of reaching Constantinople. When you finally pass through the gates and enter Constantinople proper, the sensory impact is overwhelming. The city is enormous, sophisticated, and bustling with commercial activity that dwarfs anything you've seen during the entire journey. Streets paved with stone, buildings decorated with marble and mosaics, and churches whose domes seem to touch the sky create an impression of civilization at its peak. But beneath the visual splendor lies a commercial environment of staggering complexity, where success will require everything you've learned about trade, diplomacy, and cultural navigation during 6 months of Silk Road travel. Constantinople's commercial district is a revelation that surpasses everything you've encountered during the entire Silk Road journey. The markets are organized with sophisticated specialization, featuring separate areas for different categories of goods and services, each operated according to strict guild regulations and quality standards. The silk market alone is larger and more complex than entire commercial districts in cities you've previously visited. Byzantine merchants offer products from throughout the empire and beyond, creating competition that requires exceptional quality and competitive pricing for success. Li Wei discovers that his porcelain, despite its high quality, faces competition from local ceramic arts that incorporate Byzantine aesthetic preferences unknown in Asian markets. The local buyers appreciate the technical quality, he reports after initial market research, but they prefer different decorative motifs and color combinations than what I'm offering. The situation requires strategic adaptation rather than simple price competition. Li Wei works with local dealers who understand market preferences to identify specific pieces from his inventory that align with Byzantine tastes while arranging for custom modifications of other items to increase their appeal. Rahman Al-Tiyari encounters a more favorable situation in the jewelry markets, where his exotic stones and craftsmanship techniques are highly valued by wealthy Byzantine collectors. The assessment process that seemed burdensome during entry procedures proves beneficial by providing official certification of quality that commands premium prices. The certification adds credibility that local buyers value highly, he explains after completing several successful transactions. Byzantine customers are sophisticated enough to pay premium prices for verified quality, but they demand official guarantees that protect their investments. Ibn Battuta faces mixed conditions in the spice markets. His cardamom and other rare spices command excellent prices from dealers who supply Constantinople's restaurant and catering industries, but competition from other recent arrivals keeps margins moderate rather than exceptional. Your own role evolves to include commercial consultation and market analysis as you help your merchants navigate Constantinople's sophisticated business environment. The knowledge you've gained about quality assessment, competitive positioning, and customer relationship management proves valuable for maximizing your merchant's success, but you also discover opportunities for your own commercial development. Beyond traditional caravan leadership, Constantinople's merchant community includes individuals interested in investing in future Silk Road expeditions, creating possibilities for partnership arrangements that could finance larger and more profitable ventures. The conversations you have with potential Byzantine partners reveal the scale of commercial opportunity available to experienced caravan leaders who can deliver reliable results. Constantinople's appetite for Asian goods is enormous and successful. Supply relationships can generate wealth that exceeds anything possible through individual trading ventures. These opportunities require different skills and resources than traditional caravan leadership, but they represent logical career development for someone who's proven capable of managing complex logistics and international commerce. After 3 weeks in Constantinople, your caravan's commercial activities are essentially complete, and the time has come for final accounting and profit distribution. The results exceed everyone's expectations and demonstrate the potential rewards that justify the enormous risks and hardships of Silk Road trading. Li Wei's total profits, including sales in Baghdad, Damascus, and Constantinople, exceed his original investment by 180%. His success reflects both the high quality of his merchandise and the strategic flexibility that allowed him to adapt to different market conditions throughout the journey. I began this journey with 2,000 gold pieces worth of porcelain, he calculates excitedly, and I'm returning home with 5,600 pieces in cash and established relationships for future trading ventures. The profits will allow my family to expand our business substantially. Rahman Al-Tayari's success is even more remarkable given his substantial losses during the early phases of the journey. His final profits exceed 200% of his original investment. demonstrating the potential for spectacular returns when high-quality goods reach appropriate markets. The losses in the desert and mountains were devastating at the time, he reflects, but the surviving jewelry achieved prices that more than compensated for everything we lost. I'll return to Baghdad with enough wealth to establish my family. As major traders, Ibn Battuta's results are more modest but still substantial, with profits of approximately 90% above his original investment. His success reflects the steady demand for quality spices in sophisticated markets, even when competition prevents exceptional margins. The other merchants achieve varying degrees of success, but all generate profits sufficient to justify their participation in the expedition. More importantly, they've gained experience and connections that will benefit future trading ventures throughout the region. Your own compensation includes both contracted fees for caravan leadership and bonus payments based on the expedition's overall success. The total represents more wealth than you could have earned in several years of other employment, while establishing professional reputation. That will generate future opportunities. But the financial accounting represents only part of the journey's value. The experience you've gained in crisis management, international commerce, and cultural navigation has transformed you from a simple guide into a sophisticated business professional capable of managing complex international ventures. Hassan's role throughout the journey has been crucial to its success, and his compensation reflects his contributions. More importantly, the experience positions him for advancement to caravan leadership himself, creating opportunities for career development that extend far beyond immediate financial rewards. The final accounting session becomes a celebration of shared success and mutual appreciation among people who've survived extraordinary challenges together. The relationships forged during 6 months of dangerous travel create bonds that extend beyond commercial considerations to genuine friendship and mutual respect. With the commercial objectives of the journey successfully completed, you face a decision that will determine your immediate future and long-term career direction. Several options are available, each with different implications for personal and professional development. The first option involves organizing a return journey to Samarkand, carrying European goods that could be highly profitable in Asian markets. Several Constantinople merchants have expressed interest in investing in such a venture, and your proven ability to manage complex expeditions makes you an attractive partner for eastward trade. The second option involves remaining in Constantinople to develop relationships with Byzantine merchants who need reliable access to Asian goods. The city's sophisticated commercial environment offers opportunities for establishing permanent business operations that could generate substantial long-term wealth. The third option involves exploring new routes and markets that could provide first-mover advantages in underdeveloped trading relationships. Several merchants have mentioned opportunities in regions you haven't previously visited or experienced. Caravan leaders could establish profitable new trade connections. Each option has distinct advantages and risks. A return journey would capitalize on proven expertise while generating immediate profits, but it would involve repeating familiar challenges rather than developing new capabilities. Remaining in Constantinople would provide access to sophisticated markets and potential partners, but it would require learning entirely new business practices and competitive environments. Exploring new routes would offer the greatest potential for exceptional profits while providing opportunities to develop unique expertise, but it would involve the highest risks and require the most extensive preparation and resource commitment. Your decision-making process involves consulting with Hassan and several merchants who've expressed interest in future collaboration. Their perspectives provide valuable input about market opportunities and practical considerations that affect each option's viability. Hassan favors the return journey option, arguing that your proven route knowledge and relationship networks provide Substantial competitive advantages for eastward trade. We know the challenges and how to handle them. He points out, a return journey would be much less risky than our original expedition. Li Wei advocates for the Constantinople option, claiming that developing permanent relationships with European markets could generate more wealth than repeated caravan ventures. The profit potential here is enormous, he argues, and your reputation would open doors that other merchants can't access. Rahman Al-Tayari supports exploring new routes, contending that first-mover advantages in undeveloped markets could create exceptional opportunities for wealth accumulation. Every great merchant fortune has been built by finding new opportunities before competitors discover them. He observes, after carefully considering all available information and consulting with trusted advisors, you make a decision that reflects both practical considerations and personal ambitions about your future career development. Your decision is to organize a return journey to Samarkand, but with important innovations that demonstrate everything you've learned during the westward expedition. Instead of simply retracing your previous route, you plan to explore alternative paths that could provide competitive advantages while serving markets that remain underexploited. The return journey will carry European goods that are highly valued in Asian markets, Byzantine silks, Italian glassware, and other manufactured products that command premium prices in Central Asian cities. But it will also include new merchants and different organizational structures that reflect your enhanced understanding of international commerce. Hassan will serve as co-leader rather than assistant, reflecting his proven capabilities and the expanded scope of operations you're planning. Several merchants from your original caravan have committed to the return journey, bringing established relationships and proven reliability to the new expedition. But you're also recruiting new participants who bring different expertise and market knowledge. A Byzantine glass merchant named Theodoros Laskaris will provide insight into European manufacturing and quality standards. A Genoese trader named Marco Fieschi will contribute knowledge of Mediterranean commercial practices and financing techniques. The expanded merchant group requires larger organizational capabilities and more sophisticated logistics than your original expedition. You're planning for approximately 300 camels and 80 merchants, making this one of the largest caravans to attempt the Silk Road route in recent years. The financial backing comes from a consortium of Constantinople investors who recognize the profit potential of eastward trade while appreciating your proven ability to manage complex expeditions. Their investment provides resources for purchasing higher quality goods and implementing superior security arrangements. But the return journey represents more than simply a larger version of your original expedition. The experience and relationships you've developed position you to attempt innovations in route selection, political negotiation, and commercial strategy that could establish new standards for Silk Road trading. Your reputation as a successful caravan leader has spread throughout the regional merchant community, creating opportunities for partnerships and collaborations that wouldn't have been available to an unknown guide. The return journey will test your ability to capitalize on these opportunities while managing the increased complexity of a larger operation. The planning phase takes 3 months, during which you coordinate with merchants, suppliers, investors, and various authorities whose cooperation is essential for success. The complexity of organizing a major caravan expedition provides education in business management skills that extend far beyond simple route navigation. When the return caravan finally departs Constantinople, you're leading what amounts to a mobile commercial city with its own economy, social structure, and governance systems. The responsibilities are enormous, but so are the opportunities for both immediate profits and long-term career advancement. The final departure from Constantinople marks not just the beginning of another journey, but your transformation from a Silk Road guide into a major international merchant with the resources and reputation to pursue opportunities throughout the medieval trading world. As the caravan moves east through familiar territory that now seems almost welcoming compared to the uncertainties you faced during your original westward journey, you reflect on the incredible experience that began with your awakening in Samarkand and culminated in commercial success beyond anything you could have imagined. The Silk Road has transformed you from desperate employment seeker into sophisticated international businessman, while providing education in logistics, diplomacy, crisis management, and commercial strategy that will benefit you for the rest of your career. But most importantly, the journey has demonstrated that ordinary people can achieve extraordinary things when they're willing to embrace uncertainty, accept responsibility, and persist through challenges that would defeat less determined individuals. The road ahead stretches eastward toward new adventures and opportunities, while behind you lies the evidence of what can be accomplished when courage, determination, and practical knowledge are combined with the willingness to risk everything. For the chance of achieving something remarkable, the Silk Road continues to stretch across continents and centuries, carrying not just goods and gold, but knowledge and cultural understanding that transform ordinary people into bridges between civilizations whose stories inspire future generations of traders, explorers, and adventurers willing to embrace the challenges of connecting our diverse world through commerce, friendship, and mutual respect. The awakening in Samarkand that began this incredible journey has become the foundation for a life of meaningful international service, where individual success serves the broader goal of bringing different cultures together through the timeless language of trade, cooperation, and shared human experience. The bells that once seemed frightening now ring with the music of possibility, adventure, and the endless potential for positive change that comes from crossing borders, both geographical and cultural, in the service of human progress and understanding. One aspect of Silk Road leadership that proves unexpectedly rewarding is facilitating cultural exchange between the diverse merchants in your caravan. Over the months of travel, people from different civilizations, religions, and traditions develop friendships and share knowledge that enriches everyone's understanding of the wider world. Li Wei, the Chinese porcelain maker, teaches interested merchants about advanced ceramic techniques and artistic traditions from his homeland. His demonstrations of glazing methods and decorative approaches provide education that several merchants plan to take back to their own regions, potentially revolutionizing local craft industries. Ibn Battuta shares knowledge of spice cultivation, preparation techniques, and medicinal applications that prove valuable to merchants from regions where such expertise is rare. His informal lessons during evening camps create learning opportunities that extend far beyond simple commercial relationships. Rahman Al-Tiyari contributes expertise in jewelry making and precious stone evaluation that helps other merchants better understand the luxury goods markets they'll encounter in different cities. His willingness to share professional knowledge builds trust and cooperation throughout the caravan community. The cultural exchange extends beyond commercial education to include music, literature, and philosophical discussions that make the long journey more intellectually stimulating. Evening gatherings often feature storytelling, musical performances, and debates about different approaches to religion, governance, and social organization. These exchanges demonstrate one of the Silk Road's most important but often overlooked functions, serving as a conduit for ideas, knowledge, and cultural innovations that enriched civilizations throughout Asia and Europe. The merchants in your caravan are not just transporting goods. They're facilitating intellectual and cultural development that benefits entire regions. Your role as caravan leader includes encouraging these positive interactions while managing any cultural tensions that might develop. The skills you develop in cultural mediation prove valuable beyond immediate expedition management, creating expertise that benefits future international commerce and diplomacy. The friendships and professional relationships formed during the journey create networks that extend far beyond the immediate expedition, establishing connections that facilitate future trade, knowledge exchange, and cultural understanding between distant civilizations. As your epic journey approaches its conclusion, you reflect on how the experience has transformed not just your own understanding of the world, but the perspectives of everyone who participated in this remarkable cultural and commercial adventure. The Silk Road has served as history's greatest classroom, where practical education in geography, politics, economics, and human nature creates wisdom that no formal schooling could provide. The merchants in your caravan return to their home regions, carrying more than just profits from successful trades. They bring back detailed knowledge of foreign markets, understanding of international political relationships, appreciation for different cultural traditions, and practical experience in managing complex business operations across multiple jurisdictions. Wei plans to use his expanded knowledge of European market preferences to revolutionize his family's porcelain business, incorporating design elements and quality standards that will make their products more competitive in international markets. His experience with different glazing techniques and artistic styles learned from other craftsmen during the journey will influence ceramic production in his entire region. Ibn Battuta's education in international spice markets, combined with relationships he's developed with suppliers and buyers throughout the route, positions him to become a major figure in regional trade networks. His understanding of seasonal price variations, quality assessment techniques, and consumer preferences will benefit not just his own business, but the entire spice trading community. Rahman al-Tayari's success demonstrates how cultural knowledge and diplomatic skills can be as valuable as technical expertise in achieving commercial success. His ability to navigate different cultural contexts while maintaining his own integrity provides a model for other merchants seeking to expand their operations internationally. But the educational impact extends beyond individual commercial success to broader understanding of how different civilizations interact, compete, and cooperate in the medieval world. The merchant's first-hand experience with diverse political systems, religious traditions, and cultural practices creates informed perspectives that influence policy and social development in their home communities. Your own transformation from guide to international business leader demonstrates the opportunities available to individuals willing to embrace challenges, accept responsibility, and continuously learn from complex experiences. The skills you've developed, crisis management, cultural navigation, diplomatic negotiation, and strategic planning, are applicable far beyond caravan leadership. The relationships you've built with merchants, officials, and other professionals throughout the Silk Road network create opportunities for future ventures that could expand beyond traditional trading expeditions to include diplomatic missions, cultural exchanges, and international business development projects. Most importantly, the journey demonstrates how individual courage and determination can create opportunities for entire communities to benefit from expanded trade, cultural exchange, and international cooperation. The success of your expedition encourages other merchants to attempt similar ventures, gradually expanding the networks that connect distant civilizations. The Silk Road's greatest legacy lies not in any single caravan's commercial success, but in its role as a catalyst for the exchange of ideas, technologies, and cultural innovations that advance human civilization. Your contribution to this legacy transforms a personal adventure into a meaningful part of humanity's ongoing development.